My, my fellow Americans, this is Commander Cranium with a short piece today called Are You a Communist? Or You Are a Communist? Or I'm going to prove that all living human beings are communists. It doesn't even take long. Now remember, communism is a word that almost has no meaning, like democracy has no meaning, like socialism has no meaning. America is not a democracy. It never was a democracy. We do not choose the President of the United States. A bunch of political appointed cronies called the Electoral College does. But the media, run by the billionaires, just lies every single day to you to make you think you have any choices. They don't want you to know you live in a giant concentration camp where you have no rights. And watch this. I can prove that every human being on earth is a socialist in one sentence. Who, raise your hands, believes that every sidewalk and every road in America should be a toll road and there should be toll booths on sidewalks to pay for using that individual sidewalk? Find me one Republican. Find me one fake conservative who will say, we should privatize all highways, roads, and streets, and there should be toll booths on them, because just like if you're going to go to the movies, you got to pay admission to go into the movie theater. If you're going to go down a street or a road, you should pay admission to use that road. You know, it's not free to pave streets. It ain't free. It ain't free to maintain those roads, or to sweep them, or to plow them in the winter, or to salt them in the winter. That ain't free. So, and why would we choose other people? I mean, why would we charge other people with socialism, you know what I mean, where we just pool everybody's taxes? And so there's no toll. That's crazy. Not everybody uses that road. Only the people who use that road should pay for it. So we should put toll booths on every single street in America, every road in America, and every highway in America. We should put toll booths. And the same with sidewalks. Sidewalks aren't free. Why? And not everybody uses the sidewalks. Right? Car drivers don't use the sidewalk. So why would you charge car drivers taxes to pay for sidewalks they don't use? It would make more sense to put a toll booth on every sidewalk. And so therefore only the people who use that sidewalk should pay for that sidewalk, right? I mean, why should we all pay for the movies? I didn't go to the movies. So I shouldn't pay for the movies. I didn't use that sidewalk. Why should I pay for that sidewalk? I didn't use the military. I didn't use the police department or the fire department. Why am I paying for these things? You should send out bills every 30 days like we do with Con Edison or your phone company. We should privatize these things too. It should be for profit. You know, somebody should be making a profit off sidewalks. Somebody should be making a profit. That's the American way, off of going down the road. And if you don't like it, well, don't drive down the road. Don't go down the sidewalk if you don't like it. You got a choice here in America. Land of choice. Right there. This is why the right wing always refuses to debate their opponents, because there's not one single issue you can't humiliate the right wing on in seconds. But wait, there's more. Now, I've already completely humiliated the right wing utterly and absolutely. You can't find me one Republican on earth, one alleged fan of privatization. You can't find me one of these clowns and fakes and phonies who will debate me on toll booths on every road or highway. Now, why don't we put toll booths on all the public parks? Remember, it is a lie. There's no such thing as the right wing. It was a fabrication by the rich to trick the dumbest of the dumb. You'll see, liberals don't believe in a virgin birth. Conservatives do believe in a virgin birth. That means conservatives are dumb as shit. When we recently had the rapture on May 21st, supposed to be the end of the world, there were a lot of people who gave a lot of money to the goddamn the preachers who said the world's going to end on May 21st. Send me your valuables, even though they're no good to me because the world's going to end on May 21st. But still, give me your life savings. Put me in your will. Give me your money. And millions of moron retards did. Weirdly enough, 100% of those retards, and everyone, right wing and left wing, said those people are retards. 100% of those retards were right wingers. The guy here in New York City paid $140,000 to put ads on buses and subways saying, the world will end May 21st. He put up his life savings. They said he had a picture of Ronald Reagan on his fridge, said reporters who interviewed him. Ronald Reagan, the icon of conservatives, which makes sense. Ronald Reagan was a hardcore liberal. He lived in a liberal mansion in a liberal neighborhood. He had a liberal salary. He liked the liberal perks of being president, the liberal the liberal limousines, and the liberal salary, and the liberal lifetime of free mailings, and all the liberal perks, because there's no such thing as a conservative human being. The rich people who run the world and run you and own you created these fucking myths and urban legends to trick half the sheep, so that half of the sheep would fight the other half of the slaves and sheep, the liberals. Every human who breathes air is a liberal. You can't find me one conservative on earth. You can find me a couple nut jobs who sometimes have trappings. But I mean, you look at it, Glenn Beck, all the Republican conservative icons, Glenn Beck, Karl Rove, Ann Coulter, Rush Limbaugh, are all hardcore liberals in every single category except for the bullshit coming out of their mouths. They all live liberal ways, eat liberally, had premarital sex, believe in abortion, on and on and on and on and on. We are being lied to about everything. It's called divide and conquer. For the Democratic Republicans, who are all slaves to the corporations, for them to get away with stealing all our money and helping the corporations steal all of our money, they must divide and conquer the slaves. And that's what you've seen. You have half this nation of slaves fighting the other half of this nation of slaves, while the elites slip out the back door with all your money. Let's go on with socialism, though, and communism. I've challenged audiences before. I say, with a show of hands, how many people here like to get a phone bill once a month? You'd be surprised. Not one Republican likes to get a phone bill once a month. You know why? Because they're socialists. Not one Republican on earth, or conservative, so-called conservative, likes to get an electricity bill once a month. Because they're socialists. They prefer socialism, and they've even admitted it thousands of times a day. Example, they say they support our U.S. military, which everyone agrees is a government-run monopoly that's not open to competition or any free market principles. Game over. But wait, there's more. Every conservative says they support the police, which is, of course, maybe they didn't notice, an anti-privatized, government-run monopoly that eschews all competition and free market principles. And that's pretty ironic, considering the police don't solve almost any crime. Here in New York City, the police say they fail 80% of the time to solve reported crime. They fail to solve 50% of murders. When firing their guns, they miss their targets 80% of the time. These are the NYPD stats, so you know it's worse than those figures and numbers. But wait, there's more. Pick any category. All conservatives say they support corporate welfare. We should use tax dollars to support private businesses. That's socialism. Why is the taxpayer funding business? That's what the Soviet Union did. That's what communist China did. And all right-wingers say they support it. We liberals don't support that. We liberals think private businesses should sink or swim on their own. The New York Post has never turned a profit under Rupert Murdoch. It's socialized. He keeps it propped up using profits from his other companies. That's socialism. He doesn't believe in the free market. If he did, the New York Post would be closed. It would be shut down. It never turns a profit. It's a failure. The Republican icon Mike Bloomber, billionaire media mogul, none of his businesses except for one turns any profit. But they all support his socialistic maneuvers. But wait, there's still more. Here's a way. Capitalism doesn't even make sense. It's one of the greatest lies in human history, like organized religion. It's a complete and absolutely ridiculous lie. It doesn't even make sense on its face again. Couple examples. Well, for instance, here's one. It costs me, under socialism, what is it now, 44 cents or something, for me to mail an envelope, a physical envelope to Hawaii, 6,000 miles away. 44 cents to mail a physical envelope 6,000 miles away. Does that make sense? Now, capitalism, which they promised you would give you a better price and a better product. You can't buy a can of Coke for twice the price it costs to mail a letter 6,000 miles away. Now, Coke is pretty cheap to make. It's sugar water. Now, that can be made in Jersey. And if you live miles away from the plant, it still costs twice as much for that 1-cent can of Coke than it does to mail an envelope 6,000 miles away. Right there, game over. Socialism lowers prices and produces a better quality product. Even my friends who are socialists believe a lot of the lies they've been fed since they were born. Like that. Well, I mean, capitalism is a cruel system, but it's a good economic system. Well, if that's true, why did communist China completely obliterate capitalist America? End of story. But wait, there's still more. Again, and you got to spread the word, because remember, the media's job is to lie to people every minute of every day, and they're doing a pretty good job. And our schools were built to lie to the people every day, to enslave the 90% of the human race who are sheeple, who are slaves. Example of how communism can't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense in any way. It defeats itself in seconds. Here's an example. I live in New York City. We have the fire department. The fire department is a government-run monopoly. It's socialism. Your house is burning down. You call one number, 911, and you get the fire department there. We used to have privatized fire companies, and the urban legend is that in the Great Fire of 1835, the different fire companies were fighting each other. Because if they were going to get paid for putting out a building, well, they were going to be like, no, we got here first. No, we got here first, because they wanted to collect the money for putting out fires. You see? Competition doesn't make any sense. That's why they ended up socializing the fire department here in New York City and most places on Earth. Because to make it competitive makes no sense. Imagine making the police department a bunch of different private companies who compete with each other. That would maybe be retarded. Even the right wing says it's retarded because I have yet to hear them calling for competition. Have you heard the right wing calling for competition in police forces? Have you heard the right wing calling for competition in the military? And you think if anything, they should, because the police department fails. I've been the victim of lots of crimes. The police have never once helped me. They could maybe use some competition. The U.S. military says, well, yes, we stopped the Nazis. We stopped the Nazis in 5 years. And Japan, we couldn't take on the Taliban, a couple hundred guys in 9 years, 10 years in Afghanistan. Oof! We're still in Iraq 8 years later. I know it's easier to defeat the Nazis and the Japanese and the Italians than it is to defeat a few insurgents in Iraq. No, it's a tough job. It really is, guys. No, I sympathize with your mission. Bullshit. Yikes. But here's a perfect example. So the fire department in New York City spends $0 a year because of the fact that they're communism. That's why they're all in red. They spend $0 a year advertising their service. They don't have to put up ads in the Daily News, New York Post, TV, and radio, etc. saying, is your house burning? Call 911. We will be there to put it out. Call 911. They don't have to spend millions of dollars a year on ads. Does Coca-Cola have to spend any money on ads? Yes, because they have competition. Here in New York City, we have, let's say, 5. I think there's more than 5, but let's just for convenience say there's 5 phone companies in New York City. Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. I mean, there's probably 10. We used to have more. When they broke up the baby bells, you could look in your phone books, and they'd have things like WorldCom, which was a corrupt capitalistic company. And the owner, Bernie Ebbers, who was a Giuliani crony, went to prison, and the company no longer exists. Now, when's the next time the fire department is going to close down? Never. Communism doesn't fail you. Now, remember, we're talking about real communism. We're not talking about like the Soviet Union. That was fake communism, just like America's fake democracy. There's never been a real socialist nation on Earth. There's never been a real democracy on Earth, and there probably never will be. They're all bastard hybridizations and just mishmashes made by stupid human beings. But let's say there's 5 phone companies. Now, each one of those 5 companies, since they have competitors, have to spend $50 million a year here in New York City. Full-page ads, newspapers, TV, radio, etc., etc., etc. This is just in one city. They have to spend $50 million each a year on advertising their services, while the fire department, socialism, doesn't have to spend a penny. Now, even though there's more than 5, let's just say there's 5 to keep it easy. And $50 million apiece, that's 5 times 5. $250 million a year they're paying in advertising every 12 months. The phone companies here in New York City spending $250 million a year. Wow. Where do you think that money comes from? Do they take that out of the shareholders' pockets, the CEOs? Nope. They raise the cost of their product to pay for the $250 million a year. $250 million, that's $250 million taken out of your pocket that the fire department left in your pocket. Are you sure competition gives you a better product at a lower price? It can't possibly. There's no physical possible way it can. That's why I say capitalism was one of the greatest lies, the free market, one of the greatest lies in human history. Of course, if you can convince billions of people that there was a virgin birth, what can't you convince them of? Even the most educated people I know, and I use that term loosely, here in New York City, believe capitalism is an evil system, but that it is actually a legitimate economic system. It is not. There's no battle where communism can't crush capitalism economically. Example, you and I both open up pizza places in the same block. Okay, I wonder which one of us is going to win this battle of economics and competition and capitalism. You run yours with a capitalistic model, and I run mine with a socialistic model. Mine, I don't give myself almost any profit margin. I pay my bills, and I don't have a car. I bike to work. I don't need a fancy automobile or sports cars or anything like that. I created the pizza place to deliver most affordable pizza to my customers. My competitor, you down the block, you didn't start a pizza business because you wanted to serve the public. You did it to get rich. You did it so you could buy a nice big house or a couple houses, so you could go on vacation in the Hamptons, so you could get a nice sports car, so maybe you could get laid. You're going to have to charge a lot more for your slice than I am. You're going to have to use a lower quality cheese and tomato sauce and bread because you need to maximize your profit margins, because that's the reason you created the business in the first place, was to make as much profit as you could. I, rejecting profit and the concept of profit, my pizza place charges just so we only make our bills and a little tiny bit of profit overboard so we can save for a rainy day, etc., etc. My slices are going to be half the price of yours, and they're going to be made with better quality product. Everyone's going to come to my pizza place and not yours. Even more amazing, here in New York City, you see that. I always talked about opening 99-cent slices of pizza places. I said, I'm going to destroy the competition just on volume. 10 years later, somebody opened up a 99-cent pizza place in St. Mark's, and they almost can't make the pizza fast enough. They've knocked out all their competitors on the block who used capitalistic philosophies, crushed them, destroyed them. Communist China has no one disputes it. Every right-winger you know buys Chinese products every day. Even the right wing says, I'm going to go for the lower-priced product that communism brought me. That's how fucking gigantic this fucking lie is by these fucking lying liars. And it's insane that they continue to get away with this every day. Well, of course, it's not hard to trick the sheep. But wait, there is still more. I told you about the $250 million a year that the phone companies have to pay in advertising that the fire department saves you. That's not a bit of chump change. $250 million a year? Remember, in 2 years, that's $500 million. In 4 years, that's $1 billion they've taken out of your pocket. $1 billion in just 4 years in only one city? That's why the news media and everyone brainwashes you that you need capitalism. Because it allows them to steal a zillion times more dollars from you suckers. And there's no competition. You can't find one affordable phone company. They all price gouge, just like Pepsi and Pepsi and Coke both charge the same price. There's no competition. They charge the same price, motherfuckers. But wait, you forgot something, didn't you? By creating a billing department, as all phone companies have to, with capitalism, you have to create a billing department. Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, all of them have to send you a bill once a month. That's millions in one city, millions and millions and millions of envelopes every 30 days. They have to hire a huge staff. In fact, probably half their labor goes just to collecting your $250 million a year. Well, it's not $250 million a year. That's just on the advertising. Now, if there's 5 CEOs of those companies and each one's making $5 to $10 million, maybe even more, that also comes out of your pocket. So they've now taken another 30, 40, 50 million dollars. Again, I'm lowballing it here because there's more than 5 companies. And a lot of them make more than $5 to $10 million salaries. And then all their top aides are making millions of dollars in salaries. All of that money comes out of your pocket every 30 days, sucker. None of it happens to the fire department. The head of the fire department was making $100,000 a year until the Republicans, Rudy and Mike Bloomberg, ballooned all the salaries of all their cronies to buy complete compliance for their Nazi plans. Do you understand that? So you're not paying $250 million a year just for advertising. Now, by having competition, instead of having one CEO or one person in charge, you've now got 5 different CEOs, all with chauffeured cars, all with all these perks. You see? Capitalism does the exact opposite of what it promised it would do. But wait, don't forget the billing departments. Now, they have to all spend hundreds of millions a year on each billing department for all these 5 phone companies. The staff, the labor, the ink, the paper, blah, blah, blah. And then that creates billions of costs for us in sanitation, recycling, and or regular trash in the landfill. Trillions of dollars being stolen from you. That not one penny of that money was taken out of your pocket for the fire department or the police department because they're socialism. Capitalism doesn't even fucking make sense. And now you're seeing why the government has arrested me and thrown me in jail like over 35 times. Now you can see why people like the Trachtenberg family slideshow players and David Danzig and Jessica Delfino and Harry Stuckey and Tom Richford and thousands of people, Celeste Katz, Adam Lisberg, Ron Kuby, thousands and thousands of people have all worked together to silence me and neutralize me. Because when I speak to audiences, even when I've spoken to conservative audiences, they all say the same thing. Holy shit, this guy makes a lot of sense. This guy makes complete sense. Everything he says makes complete sense. And then I turn the right wing against their corporate masters. Please, my life can't be saved, and your world probably can't be saved either. But while you're hanging around waiting for the end, you might as well help spread the word. Capitalism is the worst economic design you can come up with. This has been the Cranium Report with Commander Cranium. Remember, go forward and kill all journalists because not one of these lies could happen without the lies of journalists. If you stop all the lying journalists, you stop every other problem in the world automatically.